You are the fight.
Twice Olympic gold medalist Greg Louganis will be with us in just a moment, and later in the show, we're going to update you on some of those very special people that we've met on our show throughout the years, the people that have AIDS. But first, you know, when you mention the word AIDS, even today, people automatically say, this does not happen to me, or it doesn't happen in my family, or still people say, yeah, that's a gay man's disease. Well, you tell that to Gladys and Vicky. When Gladys and Vicky met and fell in love, they had dreams of living happily ever after. But the visions came to a screeching halt. Why? Gladys has been diagnosed with full-blown AIDS. Vicky, the relationship with Gladys is something that means a great deal to you, does it not?
It's very important to me.
Tell me about your relationship. Tell me about loving someone.
Before I had met Gladys, a mutual friend had told me all about her and was building her up, and I was really anxious to meet her. And just prior to meeting her, he told me that she was HIV positive. I said, whoa, no, not that, not that. And then we met. At first, I was really scared because she was HIV positive and wanted to run in the other direction. And then I found that I couldn't, and I saw a lot of courage in Gladys and a lot of strength that I admired, and I felt that if I'd have ran from a relationship with her, that I would have lost a lot. And
you know, it's damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yeah, but it was more damned if I ran.
More damned if you ran.
More damned if I ran.
I don't want part of this. I don't want to be part of it. I lose my love, or I stay with my love, and my love loses their life.
Right.
That's Hobson's choice. Gladys, how and when did you find out you were HIV positive?
I found out in 1992. I got sick, I got really sick, and I went through a lot of respiratory problems. And the doctor said, well, let's try the HIV test. And since I had been tested before, I was like, well, okay, let's do it. And came back positive. Came back positive.
Do you know how you contacted AIDS?
Yeah, through heterosexual contact.
Who? Do you know?
Yes.
You don't have to tell me the person's name, but you were in love with a guy.
No.
Or you were sleeping with a guy. Or
yeah, I was
something
sleeping with a
happening.
guy because I had a bad relationship with a woman, and I figured, well, you know, time to change course, I guess. And he was HIV positive and didn't tell me anything.
He didn't tell you?
No.
And that's how you got AIDS?
And that's how I contracted AIDS.
Vicky, when you met her, you were in a serious relationship with another person?
Yes, I was.
Are you two living together now?
No, I'm still in a relationship with the other person.
But you just told me you were in love with her, Gladys.
It's a real conflict, and the person that I live with knows about Gladys, and when it came to the forefront, a lot of real uncomfortable things happened for all three of us. The woman I live with is a therapist, where Gladys goes and educates the clients on AIDS awareness, and the woman I live with went to Gladys's job and told the director where Gladys works how bad and what a murderer Gladys is by being with me, because Gladys knows she has AIDS and she shouldn't be with anyone at all. She should just be in a box in a corner and not seen and not heard. And
why are you holding, if you're in love with Gladys, why are you holding on to the relationship with the other woman?
You know, I knew that question was going to be asked me before I came on the show. And
I can take it back. I won't ask you anything that you don't want to be asked.
Because it's real difficult.
I know why I think you're doing that.
Well, I think
you're
the main
afraid
thing is
she's
lack
going to
of
die
courage.
and you're going to be alone.
That's a real legitimate fear, because Gladys is going to die. And it could be 6 months, it could be 6 years. Lack of courage on my part is the reason that I'm still living with the other woman and why I'm not living with Gladys. And there's no other reason for it.
I can understand that. If you give yourself wholeheartedly to Gladys, and Gladys goes, who's going to support you, you know, emotionally? How are you going to stand there? What's that going to be like? Do you resent her for not saying, I'm through with the other woman?
Yes.
I would.
Yes, I do.
I would say, hey, you're worried about after I'm gone. What about me?
Yeah,
I'm going to be gone when I'm gone.
Yeah, I could live for another 10 or 15 years, you know. And it's the attitude that I'm going to die that is keeping people like me from living. You know, people every day, when they, you know, people with AIDS die every day, and they don't have a life because they surround themselves with negative people. And it's been a real struggle with me and Vicky. It really has. And
Vicky, are you two having sex?
Mm-hmm.
Are you having safe sex?
No.
The only reason I asked you that is you said the other woman said that she's a murderer. Why are you having unsafe sex? Tell me about that.
Didn't have safe sex in the beginning. Since I left with Gladys and then returned back to the woman that I'm living with, we really haven't had sex. We've been emotional support to one another and been there for one another.
You and the woman?
No, Gladys and I. Gladys and I. No, when I returned with the other woman said that we couldn't have sex for 6 months till after my HIV test results were done. Till I was tested immediately and then tested again in 4 months after that. She said that we couldn't have sex to protect her.
Not spreading it around, but why are you not having safe sex? What about your life?
I felt that it would take, I didn't think that it was necessary to take Gladys's dignity away, that enough dignity is taken away from Gladys on a daily basis. And I felt that if two people were in love with each other and that connected, that I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't say, take this rubber sheet and put it on first before I touch you. I couldn't do it, and I wouldn't do it.
How do you feel about that?
Well, knowing the statistics and everything that I'm really involved in AIDS and stuff, and women-to-women transmission is really, really low. There are no statistics on it.
Do you have a child?
Yes, I do.
How old is the child?
She's 8 years old.
Does she know about you?
Yes.
What do you tell her?
Well, she knows what I do, and I've had numerous people in my life that have died of AIDS, so she's expecting a death sentence also. She's taking it, I wouldn't say lightly, because I guess she doesn't really understand, and I really haven't been sick, but I expect it to get, like, I don't know how she's going to handle it. I don't know how she's going to handle it.
What are you worried about? What do you think about?
I'm worried about my daughter and what's going to happen to her and the lies that people are going to tell her.
Are you afraid?
Sometimes.
What are you afraid of?
I'm afraid to die by myself and for people to turn around and walk out on me. My family doesn't support me at all, so I'm fighting this battle pretty much by myself.
Every time Greg Louganis stepped up to the platform, his body kind of flew through the air and it soared with grace and beauty. And he stole the hearts of people all over the world. None of us knew that this double gold medalist in diving hid a deep, dark secret. Greg was gay and HIV positive. Greg has come forward. He is publicizing a past that has come to change his future. He has a new autobiography out. It's called Breaking the Surface, which is good for a diver. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the greatest diver in history, Greg Louganis. Does that feel good? Why write the book?
Well, I wanted to, I was diagnosed with HIV in 1988, early in 1988. And then a year after I was being, I had blackmail threats from an abusive spouse. And so the thought that ran in my mind was the truth shall set you free. And so—
Who was trying to blackmail you?
Tom.
You don't have to give me a name. The person you call Tom?
Tom in the book, yeah.
Okay.
And so, that was kind of a running theme, but, I understand now that I wasn't ready for it, And so it was a process, to be ready for it, to be able to talk about it. And I also wanted to be here and healthy, and be able to talk about it.
Instead of having
Instead of
people
having-
talking about you.
Yeah, and instead of like going to, the hospital and worrying about the tabloids and what they're gonna, what they're gonna say.
What were the young years like? You had trouble in school because you didn't do well. I didn't do well in school, but
Yeah.
were you dyslexic?
Well, what happened was when I started school, I stuttered. And so I was in speech therapy. Had a very difficult time reading, but I wasn't diagnosed as being dyslexic until I was given, my freshman college English class, I was given dyslexia as a vocabulary word in my freshman English college course. And I recognized that and I go, oh my God, I'm not retarded, that I'm dyslexic. I was teased a lot. My skin was darker than most of the kids that I was attending school with. And
That's because your biological father was Samoan.
Was Samoan, yeah. And I wasn't too bright, and I was involved in sissy sports. It wasn't, baseball or basketball or football. I was in acrobatics and gymnastics and then diving.
Tell me about your father.
It was with my dad. I mean, it was a hard road, in the beginning. But I mean, that's one thing that I'm so proud of, that we were able to come full circle and make peace with each other. When he was diagnosed with cancer, I came out to him about my HIV status.
You told him that you were HIV
yes,
positive.
Yeah. And so it became a crusade for life and quality of life. And so we really, battled together. And that's what really drew us together.
When you were a child, what did you think of your father? He drank, right?
Yeah. He was tough. It was, he was kind of hard on me. I mean, I remember one incident where I couldn't get myself to do a back 1.5 pike, and he knew that I was ready for it, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And then my coach says, okay, we'll try it tomorrow. And, that day, it was usually when we drove home together after workouts, then, my dad would just repeat everything that the coach said. Okay, you got to get your head up, you got to, point your toes, and repeat everything. But this time he was silent. And so I knew I was in trouble. And then when I got home, then, he said, put your suit on, you're going to do back 1.5 at the board, in our backyard, which is like a little fiberglass thing. It's not a regulation board. And I remember him taking off his belt. I remember being hit by the belt, but I don't know if it was, upstairs or downstairs where the pool was. And I did like 5 back 1.5s, and I kind of took it out on myself. I tried to land as flat as I could just to punish myself, to try and make him feel bad.
Yeah, kids will do that.
Yeah.
The book is extremely candid, and you write very openly about several abusive relationships. In fact, you were even raped by someone you thought loved you. Have you not had a good love relationship?
I don't think so.
You haven't?
Yeah.
I feel sorry for that. I really do.
I have my mom.
I know, but you know what I meant. I meant
know,
a romantic
I know.
love relationship. You said that probably the hardest thing was this person you called Tom. Was he the one that raped you?
Mm-hmm.
Why did you put up with his being so abusive? Do you know?
At the time, I thought I deserved it.
But you see, so many women have sat in this chair, Greg, and we always talk about women being in an abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we've ever, of all the things I've talked about in 12 years in this show, I don't think anybody's talked about men who are in abusive relationships and stay because they think they deserved it.
Well, the thing that was so amazing to me last year, in preparation to get ready for the book and to be able to talk about a lot of these issues, I was in therapy. And, you know, my therapist asked me about, well, what did you think about the domestic violence in the OJ case and all that? And I was like, I was appalled by it. I couldn't believe, you know, nobody deserves that. And then he says, well, how does that relate to you? And it was like a light went on in my head. I was like, oh my God, I guess
This is
nobody deserves it, not even me. Even though it was an abusive relationship, it was a relationship. And so, and I had been in it for a long time. And by the time that more information was coming out about, you know, being able to be tested, you know, that they found the virus and all that, you know, we didn't get tested because we felt that we were safe. We didn't fit a lot of the profile of what they were talking about, you know, all these different partners and, you know, lifestyle things and, you know, that didn't kind of apply to us. So we felt that we were safe. I guess the first time that I was concerned was Tom in the book came down with shingles in 1987. And that was kind of the beginning of thinking, well, maybe we aren't safe.
Shingles is a common thing to have when you have AIDS.
Yeah, because it's a response to a depressed immune system.
And did he find out first that he had AIDS?
We kind of found out around the same time because he was going into the hospital. At that time I was in training, in heavy training in Florida, South Florida. He was living in California. And so I knew that he wasn't doing well. He went to the hospital and they found out that he had the pneumocystis. And I got tested around the same time when he was going into the hospital because I was concerned because I didn't want to waste anybody's time in training because it was a big year. It was the Olympic year. And so I knew that if I had tested positive, I was going to pack my bags and go home, lock myself in my house and wait to die. Because that was kind of the thinking at that time, that, you know, HIV is a death sentence. And so my doctor encouraged me to stay in Florida and continue training. And that was probably the healthiest thing that I could have done for myself.
Is Tom still alive?
No, he isn't.
How do you feel now?
I feel good. Yeah.
Has this book tour taken a lot out of you?
It's taken a lot out of me, but, you know, it's really been worth it, especially, you know, going to the book signings. And I guess what I've given a lot of other people by telling my story, you know, openly and honestly, you know, it's given a lot of other people strength to feel that they're not alone.
Yeah, that feels wonderful when
Yeah.
you do that. When we come back, we're going to meet this strong woman, and she is strong, isn't she?
Yeah.
Behind this man. We're going to meet his #1 fan, his mother. Stay with us.
You are the fire. Get off my stage.
I want you to welcome Greg's mother, Frances. I think that this is, am I right? This is probably one of the first times you're publicly speaking out about your life with Greg. What was he like as a child? Did you know this was a very talented? Did you always know? Mothers sometimes say, I had not a clue that this was a very talented young man or young woman.
No, I didn't realize he would go as far as he did. But he was 1.5 years old, and he was doing acrobats with his diapers on.
That's what happens, Mom. It's a great image, Greg, having your mother on.
Diapers and everything.
Well,
Was he moody? Was he
Yes.
moody? He was moody.
moody, shy.
Greg writes that he tried to commit suicide on several occasions as a young teenager. Did you know he was in such pain?
I knew he was in pain. I did not know that he tried suicide.
Did you know why he was in pain?
No, I knew that he was quiet, he was moody. I couldn't reach him. No one could reach him and talk to him.
When did you begin to think, or how did you begin to think that he might be gay?
Well, I knew he was different when he was 4 or 5 years old
In what way?
because of his personality. He did not associate with people, right? He was
Yeah.
a loner. And I knew he was different then, but I didn't think of gay because I didn't know anyone that was gay at the time.
When did you think about gay?
Oh, I guess he was about 14, 15, something like that.
Did somebody tell you, or did
No,
you?
no.
Just a mother's accumulation of knowledge. Later, as time went on, did you know about Tom?
No, I did not like Tom. We did not get along, but I didn't know about the rape
Or how bad it was?
or how bad it was, no.
Well, I had told my mom before the book came out that Tom had raped me. After she had read the book, then she didn't realize, you know, her interpretation of it was that he wanted sex and I didn't, and he didn't stop. She didn't realize how brutal it was.
No, I didn't.
I know what it's like as a mother to see a child in pain. What have these past few months been like for you?
Wonderful. He's come out. I have come out. I can tell people.
Does the truth set you free?
Yes.
The truth
Yes,
does.
it has.
Greg, I know the future is uncertain for you. It's uncertain for me. It's uncertain
Me
for
too.
us all. What are your dreams for years to come? What do you want now?
I don't know. Right now, it's like, give me some time off with my dogs, you know, because I really miss my dogs. That's one thing that that my mom taught me is unconditional love, and that's the one thing that my dogs give me is unconditional love.
That's something that a whole lot of us would like to have, just more time. Are you afraid?
No,
No?
no, he's healthy. He's more healthy than I am. Why should I be afraid?
I like your spirit. Thank you for coming and talking to us. Marnie was a very beautiful, very young, energetic woman. She made one fatal mistake that cost her her life at the age of 26. Please stay with us for this story.
And then all of a sudden I just started getting sick, not feeling well. It took a very long time for us to find out what was wrong, because nobody would have ever thought of testing me for AIDS.
Are you afraid of death?
No.
No?
For Allie, I don't imagine that. I don't even think about that, Sally. I'm so hopeful that they're going to come up with something, and all I care about is keeping her healthy and keeping her spirits up, and I don't think any further than that.
Welcome back. We're talking today to Greg Louganis, mom, and people who are HIV positive and the people who love them. And they're here because they want us to know that this is a disease that can hit any one of us. What you just saw was a clip of one of my favorite people, Allie. She shares my daughter's name. This is Allie Gertz. Allie was on our show in March of 1992, at the time suffering from AIDS. Her mother, Carol, joined us on that show, and then again, after her daughter passed away in 1992, she was 26 years of age. When Allie was diagnosed, she was, by the way, one of the first women in the heterosexual community to speak out, and her story literally became front page news and a movie. How did the publicity affect the family?
Well, our lives were changed forever from that moment on.
Hear that, Greg?
Going public, of course, gave us responsibility. We felt it was very important to do this because up until that time, heterosexual transmission of AIDS was more or less unheard of, unspoken of, And of course, when we went public, I got many, many phone calls and letters saying we thought we were the only ones. It was very widespread, but people hadn't come forward. And it kind of changed the face of AIDS to know that it was not just minority groups, gay, intravenous drugs, etc. It was anyone.
Whoever.
Or them. Those other guys, yes. And of course, AIDS was something we never thought about at all until it hit us. And I think that's the problem even today, that too many people think that it can't happen to them, that it has nothing to do with them, and it isn't until, sadly enough, it does affect their family or their loved ones or people who are very close to them, that they suddenly realize it can happen to any of us.
I want you to meet Eileen. Eileen says that she too shares the same heartache that Carol does. I have to tell you a story. About I'm guessing it was around the beginning of 1993, I do, as part of my life, a certain amount of social things you have to go to. And I went to this social thing that was just on my calendar. And when I arrived there, I realized to my horror that it was the same event a year later that my daughter had won. It was a cooking contest that my daughter had won the year before, and my daughter had died, not of AIDS, in the interim. And I suddenly said, I don't think I'm going to be able to stand around. I didn't realize it was the same function. Man, I took a big dose of self-pity. I walked in there, my eyes were just like a lost puppy, and I felt that the worst thing in the world that could ever happen had happened to me. And I was standing there, and this woman came up to me. I haven't seen her, but that one time at that, and today when she walked on the set, and she came up and said, I had two daughters like you have two daughters. I've lost both of mine. One to a car accident and the other, Marnie, to AIDS. Suddenly, I just didn't feel so sorry for myself. Tell me about Marnie. How did she come to be diagnosed with AIDS?
She just wasn't feeling well. And she wound up in the hospital, and they sent her home with pneumonia. And then she went back again. And they said, Marnie, we think that you have PCP pneumonia. I wasn't in New York at the time. I was in Florida with my mother, who was dying. And my husband called me and said, Eileen, they think that Marnie has AIDS. And I said, don't be ridiculous, Neil. Girls don't get AIDS. It was 1989, March of 1989, and I read the Times every day. And there was nothing that indicated to me that that was so, and I felt that it was impossible. When I got to New York the next day, and they confirmed that it was, in fact, AIDS, I said, well, I have to become empowered now and learn everything there is to learn about AIDS, because we have to save her. I lost one child. Nobody loses two children.
How did she get AIDS?
She slept with a childhood sweetheart.
Eileen, like Carol, you do a lot of work trying to educate America's young people and their parents about the disease. You brought some. What did you bring with you today?
Well, I got involved. I just totally got involved as an educator, as an advocate, and fortunately for me, there was a group that was just starting called Mothers' Voices. They are a wonderful group of people from across the country who are advocating the government to put a stop to this disease.
Marnie passed on, did she not, from AIDS?
Yes.
She wrote this. Could you read it to us?
Yes, I can. And then I will read you about Mothers' Voices. Marnie went to CW Post and felt when she was homesick, she finally got sick in the beginning of 1991, that she would write something and read it to the students at CW Post to tell them that everyone is at risk. So she, in her way, was becoming an advocate as well. And she wrote, which she never delivered because she died before she had a chance to. So I've been delivering it for her. Hello, my name is Marnie Mitzman. 9 years ago, I was one of you. Today, I have AIDS. I'm not sure how I got it, only that I've never been an IV drug user. For all I know, I could have contracted this virus right here at school. It wasn't until 1989, when I was hospitalized with PCP pneumonia, that we discovered that I carry this virus. I was always very popular. I always had at least one boyfriend and many friends. I had it all, or so I thought. Now I have it all. I even thought how much more together I was than so many. I mean, I was on the pill, so who needed condoms? AIDS was in the headlines then. They said, use a condom. But how could I, a young woman in college, ever come in contact with AIDS? That was supposedly for homosexuals and IV drug users. I was neither. I was safe. But I was wrong, dead wrong. There's one more paragraph. I was sitting there with you 9 years ago. Now I have AIDS. How many of you are going to say that? It's up to you.
Stay with us. Who are you? What did you do? You were wearing a disguise in the
Well,
first...
listening to people on the show, Sally, you know, like, you know, just talk about courage and how the truth has set you free. I was like sitting in the green room, like, and I had to take that wig off and that disguise and come out and be who I really am.
Could have told me you were going to do this. I got a television show to run.
Oh, yes, ma'am, I know, but
I'm proud of you.
I needed that
Enough
truth to
said,
set
I'm
me
proud
free.
of you. But you should tell me what you guys are going to do, because it really... I'd like you to welcome Gloria to our show. Just as I said, I go out a lot, and was it last weekend, Gloria?
On
last
the 4th.
week? On the 4th,
Thursday.
whenever that was. I had to go to a breakfast, or I wanted to go to a breakfast, and I stood in the back, and this woman stood up, and I felt an empathy from being Hispanic, and she talked about her husband, Alex. She was married to him only a few short months when he was diagnosed with AIDS. What happened?
Well, Alex and I got married July the 24th of 1991. And we tested before we got married. My test came back negative, and his blood clotted in the shipping process, and his test came back inconclusive. So we just went on with the marriage, and 2 months later, I found out that I was just pregnant, and he had just tested, and we went to get his results, and he was positive.
When he died, you could carry him.
Yes. Well, there's always that fear of rejection, and he didn't know how to deal with it. So he didn't tell everybody that he was positive until the very end. And we were afraid of what people would think. Not really myself, but he was. You know, it was just like so stunning to him because, you know, he was 47 when he first got married, and we just had our child, and you know, life was just beginning for him. And later on, you realize, oh, wow, you're positive, so that just kind of like turns your entire world around.
How's your daughter?
She's fine. She's not positive, and neither am I. But that's by the grace of God.
Gloria has taken what has happened to her, and like every experience, it's very much the same, and like every experience, it's very different, and especially, I think, in the Hispanic community. She works now for the Bruised Reed Ministry.
Yes, that's correct.
I want you to meet Terry McGovern, another person standing up there on that platform the other day when I went to breakfast. She's executive director of the HIV Law Project. What I heard you say is, I want to say out loud the names of some women. Who were those women? Say those names out loud now for me, can you?
I'm just going to say their first names, but Tamar, Sandra, Katrina, Lydia, Brenda.
Who are they?
Those are 5 very different women, all of whom came to my office because they actually needed a lawyer to get what they needed from the system, to get Medicaid, to make sure that they could take care of their kids, to get benefits so that they could eat, so that their kids could eat. These were women that had incredible senses of humor, who were courageous, who were leaders, who were in their own communities teaching other women that they, in fact, could be at risk for AIDS. They were some of the greatest people I've ever known, and all of them have died, but all of them touched thousands of lives. And I was saying their names because it seems as though somehow there's this incredible silence around the death of so many of these women who are spending their time taking care of everybody else. So, you know, and need a lawyer, actually, to be able to get what they need to stay alive.
Terry, what's the project about, quickly?
The project is about saying that it is not okay for the government, it is not okay for the local agencies, the public assistance agencies, the family court, people in your own family. It is not okay to discriminate against people with AIDS, that we will fight.
We'll be right back.
You are the five. Get off my stage.
Eileen, in your own words, what did you want to tell us?
I wanted to make sure that everybody gets involved in this disease, and that's what Mother's Voices has given me the opportunity to do. We believe that every child deserves the chance of a lifetime. And we're fighting, we're empowering ourselves through the moral authority of our voices to make sure that this government treats AIDS as a national emergency, which it is.
I put the number up, so I want you to see that number.
I have 2 brothers, and they're HIV positive. This happened in '87. He said, ask your Lord. And I remember when I was told that my brothers had tested positive, I was on my job that day, and that he had like 6 months to a year to live. And I didn't believe too much in the Lord, but I remember that day. From that day on, I gave my life to the Lord. And I said, God, please, my brother's too young. He hasn't lived his life. And we're in '95 now, and my brother's still alive.
Thank you. On behalf of the Life Educators, I'm here with my students. Thank you so much. It makes it easier for us out there with the ammunition that you're giving us from your heart to tell the truth. And it's very difficult to teach our students skills unless they learn the skills to live and live a long life. It's been hard from 1980s to get out into the schools, but you're making it so much easier for us to teach in the classroom. Thank you for your stories.
How many of you are his students? How many students do we have? Okay, so listen. Oh, all those young faces. Oh, my dear. We'll take a break. The Mother's Voices for having you come with us today. This is for Gloria. When I said she works with bruised reed, Isaiah 42:3. A bruised reed he will not break. A smoking flax he will not extinguish. He will faithfully bring forth justice. See you next time.
You are the five.